The voice of sharing. Durian ASEAN.
Hi, this is Arlene and you are listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. Today in our Blast from the Grassroots, we will have a scientist, a real scientist from Malaysia. He will be sharing with us on the state of science literacy in this country. So welcome Dr. Wong, and today he will be sharing with us as well on the Scientific Malaysian. It is e-magazine that covers issues and scientific progress or breakthroughs in this region as well as all over the world. So, Dr. Wong, I'm just wondering, what is the scientific progress of Malaysia?
It all comes down to how we really define science. And for us, if the researchers deal with questions that require analytical skills to solve the problems, and not just dependent on fixed theories and fixed facts, they could be categorized as scientific. And we have come across many researchers from mathematics and economics background.
I see. The Scientific Malaysian, is it like bi-yearly or a monthly issue?
The magazine we try to publish 3 issues per year, but that took up so much of our time to maintain the quality. We basically, our policy is trying to make every issue is better than the previous issue. So now we have reduced our publication to two times per year, so that we will have enough time to make sure that all the articles are on par with the quality that we want, and to make sure that the articles have the layman terms, and the presentation of the magazine has to be attractive, so that the public will be able to understand what we are trying to present to them.
I see. So is it like a print version or is it like a e-zine?
It's an e-zine. What we do is we publish it for free online, and anybody can go to our website, scientificmalaysian.com, and to find out the magazine. And currently we're only focusing on the online version, but we do hope someday that we will be able to produce the print version in the future. And what we really hope is to get this print version across to the schools, the primary schools and the secondary schools, so that they will be, because I think the students might not be able to access the internet that freely, especially for primary students. But we want to nurture a next generation of scientists by distributing to them such a scientific magazine, so that they will be able to have the insight of what scientists really do. And I think that the public lack the inspiration to become scientists, and that's what we hope to achieve.
Talking about lack of inspiration to become scientists, it's interesting because even the state of science literacy among young people or among people in general in Malaysia is not really that high. But perhaps you yourself being a scientist and working rigorously in UC Science Malaysia, what is your discovery on the state of science literacy in this country?
Well, I have to be honest, it's not very well established. But there are a few reasons, though. One of the reasons is science is extremely common. We wouldn't be talking on the radio right now without science. The microphones we are talking through right now are due to scientific discoveries. Many medicines, many therapeutic drugs come from scientific breakthroughs. But precisely because of the commonness, people take science for granted. And the second reason is because the complicated and the technical terms, scientific terms, and this complicated scientific process, that when we try to convert it to layman's term, it is still very difficult for them to understand what we are doing. So because of the complicated and the complex nature of science, people take science for granted. They don't want to know more about it. They just want to know, the entertainment, something that they can be entertained, like the films, movies, and perhaps the common occupations that generate monetary terms, like the lawyers or, the accountants. Not to say those are not important. Those are extremely important. But in a way, that the people's perception about science being overshadowed by other things out there, and there's not a lot of media, scientific media, to tell the public what they should know, and what the importance of science and the process of science in layman's terms. And again, that's what we're really trying to achieve. We really want to get connection with the public, to establish a connection of science to the public.
So do you think we are lagging behind in terms of scientific progress in comparison with other countries or other foreign university?
Yes, we definitely are lagging behind. And for example, the foreign universities, those in the US, Europe, and even closer to home in Singapore, they have a very high ranking in the university rankings. If I'm not mistaken, the latest top 100 Asian universities, the list already been out, and none of the universities in Malaysia are in that ranking. One of the main reasons is because our research generated by our universities is not good enough. It's not quality enough. Those universities in US, Europe, Singapore, Japan, they emphasize a lot more on the quality of scientific research than the quantity. So they give priority to research that either shakes the very core of scientific knowledge and to generate products that have direct effects to the end user. So it's not only the emphasis on the quality, but they generally open up the job opportunities, the job chances to anyone in the world, and basically attracting brains solely based on their qualifications and skills.
And do they attract brains via good state funding as well?
Sorry?
Do this foreign university or other countries, do they attract good brains also via good state funding for science?
Yes, absolutely. Like, for example, in the US, they spend close to 3% of the country's GDP just from one institute called as National Health Institute. So this NIH, they spend close to 3% of the country's GDP. I'm not talking about just one institute. And this big funding enables the group, the research lab in the US, able to hire, able to attract the people to work overseas, to work over there in their lab because of the funding that is able to not just to buy the equipment, not just to buy the research consumables, but also to attract the brains. And I think while funding is undeniably important with equipped labs, it is the talented scientists, the brains, that make a real difference to the scientific arena as a whole. And in Malaysia, we should really try to attract brains from anywhere in the world to improve the scientific research.
So, what is the state of the scientific research in Malaysia in general, in your view? And has there been any scientific research breakthrough?
Yes, there are, but I have to be honest, it's a little bit sporadic. Like, for example, in the 90s, I think a group of Malaysian researchers, they discovered the Nipah virus. And just, I think last year, came out very breakthrough research about the yield of the palm oil. And the Malaysian scientists, they collaborate with international scientists to find out what is the responsible gene that affects the yield of the palm oil, if I'm not mistaken. So these are very breakthrough research that is published in very, what we call as very high impact journals like Nature, Cell, or Science. But they are very sporadic of this research, and I really think that the Malaysian researchers, or even the Malaysian government, should try to emphasize more on the quality rather than the quantity of research.
Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, among the Malaysian university, I mean, not just in this in the field of science, but in general, usually would focus more on how many research publication that they can publish, rather than the quality of their publication itself.
Yeah.
But why do you think this is happening in our university?
I'm not saying that all researchers they only emphasize on quantity. Of course, it's actually good to have both the quantity and the quality. But for me personally, and actually a few others as well, there are more and more people, they emphasize more on quality than the quantity. And why would certain researchers focus on the quantity than the quality? It could probably be due to, say, for example, the promotion system. The promotion system that encourage how many papers that we have published rather than the actual impact that the research that we have done to the society. And I think that promotion requirement might have motivated certain researchers to focus more on the quantity than the quality. And another reason that I can think of is perhaps they do research not for the correct reason, I would say. there are some how to say people, they might not be very interested in research, but they are interested in teaching, and they happen to be in the academia. So what they do is they put priority more on teaching than research, and I think that's fine, because I think teaching has to be very good as well. We are not just assisting to generate knowledge, but we assist actually primarily to distribute the knowledge. And certain researchers, if they are not interested enough, not passionate enough in scientific research, and I think that they could probably contribute in the teaching research, because I think there are many ways to bring good teaching quality. So probably they should emphasize on the interest that they are interested on. So we say that they're interested in teaching, but there are also a lot of research to improve the teaching arena. And I think perhaps these researchers should probably focus on these areas that interest them the most.
So what are the cultural and social awareness on science field and science as a career among young people in public in general? Because I think a lot of young people today, as far as I know, the people that I met, they have huge interest in science, and I think the internet itself has opened up doors to many scientific research and discoveries, and even popular YouTube videos for people to just enjoy and just to want to know more about the universe, the world, and science itself. But how can in Malaysia itself, how can we popularize science to kids?
To kids,
or to young people?
It's a little bit delicate though. For the young people and the new generation, they are being exposed to many different areas, but science is not so much, and it might be overshadowed by other fields. And so one of the ways is I would say, really dependent on the parents, what they want the kids to get exposed to. And I would really be interested for parents to try to get exposed their kids to many different fields, not just scientific, but also the arts. And also, the arts have music and creative writing and things like that. And what for me, it's not just about science. For me, it's about what the young kids like to do, what the young kids is interested to do. But they wouldn't know what they are interested in until they get exposed to many different fields.
I'm just wondering, is science a top career choice among young people? I mean, you are in USM. I'm sure you are exposed with a lot of students' thoughts.
Yeah. So what I think about them thinking about science.
Yeah.
And I think you do get students who are not particularly interested in science, but they just happen to be in that particular course. But I think it's because of them not being exposed to the subfields in the science. Because science is so specific, say for example genetics. But genetics, there are many different subfields: population genetics, molecular genetics, immunogenetics. But I think certain students, they haven't been really exposed to the subfields within the science, and they happen to be in the course and not being interested in science just because of the materials that we give to them is not wide enough. I am quite sure when it's wide enough, there would be one subfield that would pique the interest of the students, and they might want to join the scientific arena to do the research.
And also about the cultural awareness. I mean, is usually when we talk about top choice in career, people would think about being a lawyer, an engineer, a doctor. But in your point of view, do you think being interested in science or being a scientist is actually a sexy thing?
Not so, because of the monetary terms, like we mentioned, and about the science arena is not so much an arena to generate a lot of monetary terms, and that actually put off the young generation to get into the scientific arena. But I think they haven't really understood that being a scientist, you can do many different careers. So it's not just about the research, but you can also join the industry. You can also join the consulting firms, because now increasingly the consulting firms, many consulting firms, like even the bank actually, increasingly want to hire scientists. Why? Because scientists possess the analytical skills. We are trained to solve problems not just dependent on fixed theories, fixed facts, but we solve the problems based on what combining ways to solve the problems. And these analytical skills is very important in many different job sectors.
Mm-hmm.
And
so,
I think,
sorry, go ahead.
And being science is not just about joining the industry or the academia, but there are also many the media as well. I think there are many media, for example, one of the examples is probably Scientific Malaysian, and many magazines and many media, sci-fi, and we can get into the entertainment arena as well. Yeah.
So just an interesting thought. If you have a policy advice for the Malaysian government to promote science, education and research, what would be the way forward?
A policy, one of the policies I think is to really increase the funding for research. So that is one, so that will enable us to not just buy the equipment, not just to get the research consultants, but also to attract the brains throughout the world. And so that would be one of it. So the second would be to promote science and education. I would say to try to get across something on the layman terms in the media about any scientific arena to the media in newspapers, magazines, and get across the message about the scientific research that we are doing in Malaysia, so that the Malaysian public understand what scientists do behind the scenes. Because I think we are way too behind the scenes that people don't understand what we are doing. And I really hope the Malaysian government can do something about it.
So I guess my final question is, how can Malaysian get hold of the upcoming or current copy of the Scientific Malaysian? Are you publishing it now?
Yes, we are only publishing it online, but we definitely hope to, to produce the pre-version and distribute to anyone, to as many people as possible, especially the schools and the academia. Probably we start with the university first, distribute among the university for the hard copy, and then distribute the hard copy in the future for the schools. We definitely will be interested in promoting science literacy among Malaysians, so not just among the younger generations, but all age groups. And we really hope we can achieve that with our magazine.
So what's the top scientific issues that you cover for the current issue?
For the current issue, we have a cover article, and this cover article covers on the topic on the cancer diagnosis. So it's very interesting. There is one boy in the U.S., age only 15 years old, and he came up with a diagnostic tool to detect pancreatic cancer.
Oh, just an 8-year-old boy?
Sorry?
So it's just a young kid?
Yeah, just a young kid. A couple of years ago, last year or 2012, and this boy, teenage boy, just came up with a diagnostic tool that people claim that he basically claimed that is able to detect pancreatic cancer. So again, pancreatic cancer is a very difficult type of cancer to detect, and to be able to generate such a tool without really being surrounded by a group of scientists, and it made a media circus. The media circus loved that such a young boy was able to generate such a tool. So the cover article actually to remind the public that it's not as simple as that. That the diagnostic tool is not as it's not being tested rigorously scientific enough, and it actually has not been published in any cited journals. So the article is trying to remind the public how we should interpret science. It's not just about these feel-good stories about, like, for example, the young kid being able to generate that, but we should also be cautious how to interpret what the scientific findings. So that article for me and for a lot of people are very interesting, because it's just basically to remind people that scientific findings need years and years of research.
I see. So science is a very long-term, rigorous field to be in. For those who are very much interested in science, would be the one who would make scientific breakthrough, I guess, or discoveries. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for sharing with us on Scientific Malaysian, and as well as your thoughts on the science literacy in this country.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you.